Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marcus, and last video I recorded a few months ago, I spoke of how I thought that Mercedes would not ditch completely their zero pod concept, um, mainly because I think they are a very proud team. They won many championships, and they are sure that their concept works. And I really thought that they could somehow make it work, and the solution that they came up was very close to the one I shown in the video. Um, as you can see, they have a very wider area on the lower part of their side pod to create the structural strength needed to don't let the floor bend and stop the porpoising. And as you as we can see in the pretest and also the first race of the year, the car did not porpoise a lot, so they solved this. But the overall um, downforce is still very low, and this became more dramatic as we can see that Aston Martin that share the same power unit and also the back suspension is the same, and the Aston Martin car seems much more consistent. Yeah, that's the word I was searching for. So what is Mercedes' mistake? First of all, their idea differs from mine just in terms of the air intake. They chose a more vertical air intake. That's why it goes like this. Their side pod starts very high and goes lower. And they chose this vertical air intake um, because the dirty air that comes from the turbulence generated by those suspension bars and also the transition from the nose, the upper part of the nose to the side. This air is very turbulent. It's not very useful for aerodynamic purposes, but it is useful for cooling. It doesn't matter if the doesn't matter much if the airflow is turbulent or not. If your only purpose is cooling, that's why I think they chose a vertical air intake. My idea was a more horizontal air intake. So it would go like this. Yeah. And I think that this could have generated more downforce because they have a wing right here. So you would have more air going through this surface. Let's put another color. They would have more air going over this surface here and feeding the upper part of the diffuser. But they chose uh, another concept, and they probably have the the resources to decide what's better for them. But what we can see is that it's not enough. Compared to 2022, on the circuit of Sakir, the Mercedes was actually half a second faster, so they have really improved. But not enough because Red Bull actually improved 0.9 seconds, and Aston Martin even more, almost 2 seconds. So the concept that they chose gave them some kind of improvement, but not enough to to compete for the first places of the championship. So what think that they can do to correct that mistake, I really have to thank Stack for the um, model. They left it blank so we could fill with our ideas. And here is what I think that they could do. Uh, they want a more vertical air intake? Sure, fair enough. But I would do it in a way that it's thinner on the upper side and wider under. All right, these would make a um, more air going feeding the diffuser, the upper side of the diffuser and under the back wing. So I would make something like Ferrari does, and other teams are also copying it. You know, like a wall, the side pod here, creating a wall, and that is very important. And all of the teams are doing something like this, making the side pod wider on the outer side because the wake of the tire creates a lot of turbulence. This tire, what? This tire wake makes turbulence that goes and disturbs the laminar airflow that's going over the surfaces of the car. So creating this wall protects this airflow. Ferrari does it very well with their bathtub shape. Red Bull does it somehow because you can see that Red Bull's side pod, it's very wide here. It goes in a shape like this. No, something like this, and it protects the surfaces of the car from this turbulence. Um, so I think that Mercedes could do something like this. It's a lower air intake. One question that remains would be how they could position their coolers because they have a lot of them in this area. So it would have to be very low. Probably they would have generally a lot teams like Red Bull have their coolers in a position like this. It's actually very linear, so like this. But with a air intake, this in this configuration, they would have to do it invertly. So it would be something like this because the side pod is raising in this section, not going lower. So this is a possibility. I think that they should try. They would ditch their mini bathtub they have here nowadays, and they would use only that one that would start right here and going up. I think that this could work if they will do what I'm imagine. It's completely different. I also want to talk about some ideas that I have for the back wing. As you know, or probably know, the uh, the Aston Martin team last year brought a rear wing that was somehow revolutionary because it kind of went against the regulations, but they were not outside the regulations because they thought that they could do a curvature like this. I don't know how to draw it, but there is a regulation that you need to have a continuous curve without sharp angles, and most of the teams are doing something like this on their rear wings, something like this. And they thought, why not do it simply closer and then the rear wing? So they did it, but now it's out loud. They changed their regulations, and I don't know how did they outlaw this. Probably they said they have written that the the distance between the two curves cannot be smaller than a few inches or centimeters. I don't know. So this model right here could not be accepted. It can't be like this. I don't know the regulations, but I had an idea. What if instead of going inside with this curvature, can't we go outside? So I've drawn this model here. I'm not a very good drawer, okay? I'm sorry. But uh, if the curvature went outside and created a loop and then went downwards to create the rear wing, it would create the flow separation that it's so desired by the aerodynamicists, and this regulation uh, kind of prevents the aerodynamicists to create the sidewall that uh, create the vortices that separate the flow that goes inside the wing and outside the wing. So I think that with this design they could separate the the airflow, creating the vortices they want and still be inside of the regulation. Alright, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have your own ideas, please post it on the commentaries and share on your social medias if you like this content. And hopefully in the future I will post more videos uh, with other ideas that the aerodynamicists could utilize. But of course, this is just speculation. I don't have their software to analyze all the airflows. All I can do is um, go by intuition. But I hope that it's somehow useful, as I kinda got it right for Mercedes compared to last year. So maybe I get a hint of how it works. So I'll try to keep doing my content and my speculations. So thank you very much for everyone that watched this video, and see you soon, God willing.